You've got to take the patience. Scott-a-doodle-doo. My first blind date that I ever had in my life was self-inflicted. I was 24 years old. I had just driven out to Los Angeles with thoughts or dreams of becoming an actor. And I stayed with my buddy who was out at UCLA, and he was renting an apartment with this French guy that just loved to play squash all the time and eat steaks. And during the day while I was there, I would just call acting schools and try to just get the information, classes and all that. And I called this one school in particular, and this woman answers the phone, and we talk. She gives me information about the classes, and then she asks me where I'm from. I tell her I'm from Boston, and then she asks me out to go on a date like that night. And I'm just sort of like so taken back by this that I'm like, oh, well, I got to see what I'm doing. I'll call you back. So I hang up the phone. And I normally wouldn't do something like that, but this little voice goes off in my head, this shifty little voice, and it goes, hey, man, you're in LA. Things are different here. Give it a shot. So I'm like, all right, trying to embody that spirit. And I call her back, and I'm like, hey, let's do it. And she goes, great, what do you look like? And I'm like, I don't know, I'm average height, average build, I got brown hair, brown eyes. I'm like, well, what do you look like? And she goes, oh, well, I'm 5'3". I've got a button nose, whatever that means, and I've got a fairly athletic body, and people say I'm hee. I go, what are you laughing at? What do people say? And she goes, oh, people say I'm voluptuous. And I'm like, oh, that's neat. I'm not voluptuous, but that's great that you are. So I hang up the phone, and I go to her place, I go up the stairs in her apartment building, and I go to the door of her apartment, and the door is open a little bit, which I think is strange. So I knock on the door and, see if anyone's in there. And I hear this voice behind the door say, come in. And I go inside, and there's this woman sitting on the couch in this like flowing black loose-fitting dress. I mean, she something like Stevie Nicks would wear. She looked like Stevie Nicks. And I mean, she said she was athletic in her build, but like, I mean, maybe athletic for somebody that throws darts, but I don't know. Beyond that, she wasn't that athletic. And she didn't get up from the couch, which made me feel like she's hiding something. So I'm just, and I just basically felt like she was creepy, and I felt like some hapless insect that just stumbled upon the web of this black widow spider that was well fed but just still very hungry for more. And I could just tell the whole night was going to be one big cringe. I just wanted to walk out of it. But then again, that little voice goes off. It's like, hey, you're in LA. Things are different here, man. Just give it a shot. So I'm like, all right. So we go to some bar, and we're in the corner, and she's talking to me, and she's got me really cornered now. And all of a sudden, she starts massaging my shoulder and like talking to me and asking me about my sexual experiences. And I'm like, oh, this is terrible. And so thinking it would repel her and end this awkward chat, I foolishly tell her that I was a virgin, which was true. And the reaction from her could only be compared to if you ever see Gary Oldman in the movie Dracula, when he licks blood off the shaving blade after he cuts Keanu Reeves. And it was just, terrible, and I'm feeling like I'm losing it again. And again, that voice goes off in my head. It's like, hey, you're in LA, man. Things are different here. Give it a shot. And so I regained my composure. I asked for the bill. We settle up, go to another bar that's more well-lit, more awkward conversation, and finally we get in the car. We drive back to her place, and now we're parked in front of her building. And she looks at me, and she's like, do you want to join me upstairs? And that little voice again, hey, man, you're in LA. And I'm like, no, I don't. I got to get up early tomorrow, and walk around and talk. And she's like, oh, all right, whatever. And she didn't really like that. And I'm like, look, I'm thinking about leaving, going back to Boston, like tomorrow. I'm going to drive home. So if you don't hear from me again, that's why, because I left and I'm gone. So she didn't really like that either. And finally she leaves out of the car, and I'm just so psyched, just driving away, like just feeling great that I had this, so appreciative of this STD-free body that I still had, that was still in one piece.